Hey there, TNA fan! We're back at the impzonepod podcast here again to talk more TNA wrestling shenanigans. And today I want to talk about the potential, whether or not AJ Styles is going to appear on the first AMC broadcast. What is going to go down with AJ coming back to TNA, if at all? Because I said this before, like I said with, I believe it was, is AJ going to challenge Leon? Or is Leon and AJ going to happen? Um, and I was going through that and saying, oh, well, I don't know. There is something here that you could work with, obviously. But they really haven't done anything with it thus far. And perhaps because everything was kind of taped pre up to this, it's like, oh, well, we didn't know that we were actually going to try to do this, or that this was going to be an option, or whatever else it was. Or maybe they still don't know whether it's going to be an option. But I think more, like I said, maybe more than likely that it's not going to happen, unfortunately. And I'm very, not sad about it, but I'm very, not disappointed. But it's just like, whatever. It is what it is. I get why it's in some ways probably not going to happen, but it does suck because it is again, there's so many great matches that you could say that he could have, obviously, and it is his retirement year. So just having a sprinkling of a few of those in TNA would be just, or even just one or two, would be amazing. Like I said, but regarding whether AJ is going to appear is different than saying whether he's going to wrestle in TNA. I think he could appear, and I don't know how much I discussed this in that other episode or in any other episodes or whatever. But the fact that TNA says, hey, could we get him at least just to appear? I know that they'd want to do more with him, but obviously it's not very likely to happen. But still, it is one of those things that, if he appears, hey, that's, we saw this with Slammiversary. That sold a whole lot of tickets. It got a whole lot more people, interested, even though they didn't know what he was going to do at the show. And I said this about the show. It was even if you know that he's going to be there, you're like, well, is he going to be in the opening segment, or is he going to be there? We all pretty much, I feel like we all pretty much knew that he's just doing a one-off thing. So when could he do something one-off? That would be oh, okay, he's here to just announce the attendance record, or he's just here to say, however many years ago, 23 years ago, AJ Styles debuted here in TNA, da-da-da-da-da-da, and tonight we present you the 23rd, or whatever, Slammiversary, whatever. Or just do the attendance record of saying, tonight TNA has broken their North American attendance record, da-da-da-da. Same sort of thing. So again, you arcen back to history. AJ Styles was, I believe, in the first match on the Spike. Was it Fox or was it Spike? Maybe it was both, actually. I don't know. But yeah, he was one of the first guys, and he was one of, the biggest guys, ever to come out of that company that company produced. So, again, saying, hey, let's bring him on and say, 20-something years ago, whatever it was, I debuted in this company, 20-something, basically 20 years ago, we had our first, show on Fox TV, 19-something years ago, whatever it was, we had our first Spike, and I was on all three of those shows. Tonight, I'm here again, for TNA, for its debut on AMC, and now we're going to, do this or whatever it is, into the future. So that's what I think it's going to be, if it's going to be anything. It's just going to be him perhaps in an opening promo or whatever. I think they'll probably have a video package before this, but I feel like he'll have like maybe he'll have some opening promo or whatever, like if it's going to happen. Maybe he could have an ending promo, I don't know, but like I don't really see it happening in that way. I don't like, why would you do that? Like, I don't know, but like, or a run-in of some sort, I don't know. It doesn't make much sense. But then again, they did tease, I think, AJ Styles, Javon, and Dragon Lee 2 or whatever. But I just don't see the point in doing that, because it's like, well, what's it for? You know, like, I mean, I think it's just a cool little tease or whatever else it is, but it is like, well, so what type thing. You're like, they've already lost. So until you say, okay, it's going to be a street fight or it's going to be something else. And with both teams basically being baby faces, it's like, well, what kind of like different style match could they have? Maybe 2 out of 3 falls, maybe Iron Man. I don't know. That'd be like one of the best, first like Iron Man tag team matches, I think. They've never really done it. Like, I don't know whether they've ever done best 2 out of 3 falls tag team matches either, actually. So that sounds really cool as well. Like, but still, like, you can't just say, oh, we're going to have another, like, if they're going to have another match, which I don't know, we're not really going to talk too much about it, but I'm just going to mention it. If they're going to have another match, why? What does it mean? What's the difference from the last time? You've got to say there's something more, or whatever else it is, or it's actually got to build to something. It can't just be like, oh, well, we had another match 6 months later, or a few weeks later, or whatever it was, and the same stuff happened. Whoop-de-doo. You know, like, great matches and all, but no real story and no progression. So it's like, this is just filler, like, at this point. Like, that's what I mean. You can't have just filler. Like, I understand some people will say, like, if AJ appears and does this thing or whatever, it's just filler. Like, that's why I was going through some of that. But it's like, no, it's not just filler. This is for the history. You know, this is for saying he was the first guy, you know, or what on the first show, on, you know, and on the first show in basically every era. Now he's on the first show in this era, just to, you know, let's go, TNA. Let's bring the total non-stop action. Another step in history, you know, like reverting back, you know, and whatnot. All that history that we have had and whatnot with AJ and all these years and whatnot. And now we're going to start this new era. So, you know, that's where I see him doing something, if he's going to do something. So I want to cross my fingers so hard, at least even for that. I don't think we'll get anything more than that. And like, in some ways, I don't even think we'll get that, because I think WWE, like, in some ways, they've kind of been like, we wanted to help TNA, but we didn't want to help them this much. We really actually, like, just wanted them to literally go up against AEW for us. Like, and that's where I don't, like, think TNA should be. Like, unless they were on almost equal footing with AEW, like, yeah, sure, again, you can argue this point of saying, well, they've been here for whatever it is, been the last 5-6 years or whatever it's been, and technically they've been going up against AEW in some form or some fashion, but not really. But if they were going head-to-head properly with AEW on Wednesday night or whatever, then I feel like you can't have that conversation without them being on a comparable network with comparable amount of money, and with comparable amount of stars and star power. Then they've really got to pull their finger out and say, no, we literally need to sign up some of these other AEW or WWE talent that we can, because we need to bring in as many people as what we can for star power reasons. You know, but yeah, that's where I was like, no, you're not to do that. Don't go down that route of saying we need to compete with AEW. No, we don't need to compete directly with AEW. We're just, like we're still trying to build what we've got. So maybe down the line you could say, well, we're much closer to competing with AEW, and that's a lot better for us, definitely. But then again, I've said this 1,000 times as well. If we're doing really well and AEW is looking over their shoulder and saying, hey, TNA is doing really well, then they've got to start going, okay, cool. Well, now we've got to pull our finger out. Now we've got to start, doing something to get the fans back on our side, or whatever else it is. We're losing fans. We're losing interest. We're losing sponsorships. We're losing money. We're losing arenas, whatever else it is. Yes, maybe we've got some really good international stuff or whatever else it is that they don't have. So maybe that's where we focus in on, like we'll double down more on our international stuff. That's fine. We can let them have the states or whatever. I don't know. I don't even know whether that's what they're going to do. But like, if they start saying, well, let's start touring more, or let's, or whatever it is, let's just stick with that because that's our only like big markets anymore. I don't know whether you want to try to rekindle things or whatever. I think that it is worth trying to keep the balls rolling, so to speak, and try to rekindle things and whatnot. That's what TNA has done. They've rekindled things over the last, 6-7 years or whatever it's been, really the last like 2 years and really the last year. Things have rekindled for them, in many, many ways. And, I said this before, like, when they get on this AMC debut, they've got to pull their finger out. I've said this so many times that they really need to be doing stuff for it now, not just airing their, same old, well, not old, but, the same promo that they've been airing. They've got to be saying, okay, let's tease something. Let's tease Jericho coming in. Let's tease something. Like, I know that they don't want to, I said this before as well, they don't want to tease things that they can't deliver on, perhaps. But, like, when they teased for the WWE releases, they just literally teased, like, everyone was coming in and, like, maybe half the people came in. And no one was that mad because they were like, at least some of these things happened. At least we got some stuff and that's what happened, At least we got some stuff coming over here and it was exciting because there was that build and that excitement and that like, oh my God, are all these people coming? Probably not, but some of them might be coming, so let's see who's coming. And then it was like, oh shit, these people are coming and those people are coming and this person, and oh my God, like way more people than what we thought. And then you get guys like coming from New Japan, like Jay White and stuff like that as well around that time. Initially, I think it was, and like stuff like that, and Kenny Omega and all this other stuff that was on there, and the Good Brothers and all this other stuff. And then I think the year after, I can't really remember who came in then, but that was like Eric Young returning and, stuff like that as well. And Rich Swann. And like they were doing a lot of other stuff as well, I think, around that time. But I can't remember who returned around that time. I know like they got Heath and Rhino there at some point, but I can't remember when that was. But yeah. So that sort of thing, just tease everybody, tease everything and anything. Even just like, same thing, start teasing that AJ will be there. Like, like this, that's what they're doing here. Like they're teasing saying, hey, we want AJ there. That's a tease. That's not just them saying, hey, we want AJ. They know that that's public, or that got out there, that we're saying, hey, let's negotiate. We want AJ just to appear or just to do something for our debut episode. And I think that's where WWE is like, we don't know, type thing. But he's just like, if he's literally just there to say, hey, I was on the first, episode ever broadcast of TNA. I was on the first ever broadcast Impact on Fox. I was on the first Spike broadcast, and here I am again, like on the first AMC, and now we're going to go into a new era of TNA and whatnot, That will be really cool. But, like, again, like, this is why I'm so, like, I hope that this happens, but if it doesn't, then, like I said this so many times with the WWE relationship, if this doesn't come through, or if they don't say this year that we get to get AJ in at least, like, in one match or something, then it's like, this partnership is over, dude. This is it. Like, no more screwing around, no more saying, oh yes, we've got a deal. No, we don't. If this deal only helps you and we don't really get anything from it, or we rarely get anything really from it, then why are we in it? We don't need to be in it just to put your guys over and maybe our guys get like a crowning moment like 6 months later or whatever it is. You know, that's not what we need to do. We can build our own stories, we can build our own stars, and we can have our own crowning moments. We're only in this for some of this crossover stuff that we could do with you. And that's fine, for us. But obviously we're not going to just sit here and say, oh, yes, we're not going to do anything to earn that. Tell us what you want us to do for us to earn that then. We've done everything that you've asked us to do. We sent you Nick Nemeth. We sent you Matt Cardona, even though he's not really contracted with us or whatever else it is. We've sent you all of our top stars. You've taken away several of our top stars. And, like, you haven't really given us a dog in the bone for any of it. Like, realistically. Like, that have come over onto our shows. Yes, on your shows you've given us something, a little bit, but every time that we've been over there, we've gotten our guys have gotten token victories and then gotten beat at the proper shows. Except for, like, the Hardys, who actually won their titles, but then they lost them back, like, a week or two later or whatever it was. So again, it's like all this stop-start stuff, and every time that, like, especially with the Knockouts title, that it's gone over there, it's like, oh, okay, couple of weeks later, here it is again. Means nothing because it's only been there for a couple of weeks instead of being there for a few months or whatever it is. And they should have started those things sooner and then paid them off, better and whatnot. And again, they should have been in TNA. They shouldn't have been in NXT because, like, why you is a TNA person, like, maybe for Laying Lee. Like, and yes, maybe you can make the argument of saying, oh, well, it makes sense because I want to say Dana Brooke now, but, like, the former Dana Brooke, Ash by Elegance, she was in NXT too. So I guess it can make sense. But again, for them, it should just be in that arena, if you know what I mean. It should be still at a TNA event that's in those arenas. You know what I mean? So instead of being in NXT, it should just be at a TNA show so that it's like, oh, yes, we're at our show. We're winning on our show, not your show, or whatever, which is silly. Like, because, like, most of the time you seem to not want to give us a single, like, inch anywhere, and yet at those times it's like, oh, okay, we will give you this inch or whatever it is. It's like, what sense is that? But this is where I'm, like, rubber meets the road here. Like, even just to say, like I said before, of course people want, like, and I do too, I want to see AJ in a match. Absolutely, in TNA. But is it going to happen? I don't feel like it is. And this is, like I said, if you're not going to give us the thing that we're looking for, at the end of the day, at the end of this year, that's going to have to be it. We've given you everything that you've asked for us to give you and more. And yet you're not willing to give us, things that we asked for, no matter what we're, bringing to the table and saying, oh, well, you could have this or you could have that, or we'll provide you with this, or like, realistically, TNA has not a lot to provide to WWE. In many ways, and it's useless advertising to TNA fans of saying, hey, we've got the WWE over here, you can watch that. TNA fans already know what the WWE is. They already know everything that the WWE has to offer, basically, except for, like, the more, lower card people that no one really cares about anyway. But like, again, when you're just saying, oh, well, we're just going to send you all of our basically lower card guys for the most part, like, you've only really sent us like 2 or 3 people that are more upper card or main event level people. And really, like, JC Jane, when she first came over, she was more of a undercard person until, like, she had her match in TNA, and then they were like, oh shit, she actually can wrestle and she can actually go, and she actually had a really good performance. Well, shit, well, maybe we need to do something with her. Like, every time that somebody's come over, same with Tatum Paxley, they went, holy shit, well, maybe we can actually do something with her, because when she went to TNA, she actually showed out. Because, again, TNA said, okay, we'll let this person show out. And then they were surprised by the fact that they could show out, because they didn't know what to do with her. Instead of just saying, hey, go out there and have a fucking good match. Against somebody who's been built up for a long time. That's how you build people, sometimes. Is just sending them out there against people that are like, have a lot of experience, have a lot of, history or backstory or whatever else it is behind them. And then saying, hey, you came that close to beating them. Especially when they're early on. And then later on you start saying, well, they could get there. Maybe they could get there. Maybe they could beat this person. They were so close last time, and that was like when they were younger and inexperienced. Now they've learned all this stuff, and they're, are they going to win this time? Da-da-da-da. Whatever. So, yeah, but like, that's where I'm at with, like, is AJ coming? Like, I'm 50-50. Like, if they don't, like, I feel like they'd have to announce it. They would have to announce that, oh yeah, he's coming. I feel like they won't announce that he's coming until it's like maybe the week before, if that, because like I think they want to try to sell the show on the allure that he might be there, and on the allure that, hey, there's this other stuff going on and other debuts and other returns or whatever else going on potentially, or other stuff coming. So, like, and I've heard a lot of the stuff about, like, well, we might partner with some of the big AMC shows that are on. Well, that's like The Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, like those shows. Like, those are their biggest shows, or whatnot. I think there's probably some other shows that they have, but those are the major big shows that everybody like thinks about when they think about shows that are on that network, or if the network, yeah, those big time shows that they have. So and TNA's trying to get into that mix, but like none of those people are going to be in-ring performers. So just saying, hey, such and such is at ringside. Actually, it's funny. I just saw a trailer for the new Malcolm in the Middle. I don't know what that actually is, or whatnot. What's going on with that? Whether it's like a season or whether it's like a few episodes. I'm assuming it's a season. But yeah, that seems crazy to me, man. Like that they're gonna go back to that and whatnot and all of this stuff. Like all these years later. Like just like a historic thing to have one more big hurrah kind of thing. Okay, cool. But yeah, I don't know. It seems weird in some ways, but it's funny. Like that's why like that kind of thing. You could get some of these people on there, and it's like, well, or some of those sorts of people. But it's like, well, they're just going to be at ringside watching and then waving or whatever else it is. Or somebody maybe coming out with somebody else and being like, oh yeah, I'm with this person, da-da-da-da, to the ring, or whatever else it is. Or singing somebody's theme song or something maybe, or whatever else it is. Or, like the bands or whatever. That sort of thing or whatnot. I don't think that there's much to any of that stuff, because it's like, well, yeah, so what kind of thing to me. I mean, but for other people, maybe it's like, oh my God, they had, such and such there, whatever. They had this person there, but not a lot of those people are like super duper mainstream, like, or whatever. So, and I get that they're not the most mainstream thing ever either, but still like, you want to, as much as possible, get the most mainstream people that you can through that. You don't want to just be like, oh, okay, well, we got the person that was in one episode or whatever it was. You want the main characters, and even then it's like, wow, they got this person to appear for 3 seconds or 5 seconds or whatever it was, 10 seconds maybe. Whoop-de-doo, whatever. It's like, what does that do? And it can't be too silly. It can't be like The Miz and Morrison. I can't even remember who they were wrestling at whatever it wasn't WrestleMania, it was Extreme Rules, I think. Where they had that zombie street fight or whatever it was, where the zombies were there at ring. Oh, it was the not Battle Royal, what do they call it? The Lumberjack match. Yeah, and the zombies were the Lumberjacks and all of that. Like what? That's like the same with like the ECW, and like they had the ECW zombie and all this stuff. It's like, like if somebody comes down in a zombie costume, like maybe Mance Warner, and he pulls off the zombie mask or whatever it is, and then he's like, or he has a legion of zombies for his entrance or something, that's a bit different. But just to play up the fact that these are real zombies or whatever, no, don't play up that you've got real zombies or whatever or whatnot. Maybe you could do something like that, and it's like Negan comes through or whatever, some of these guys from like Walking Dead or whatever come through and they chase off the zombies or something like that or whatnot in a match or whatever. But it's like, you can't play off that these are real zombies, or it starts getting too silly. Like, you know what I mean? Or you've got to get them out of the way quickly, because it's like, oh man, this starts getting like, that we know that these are fictional things, like, and I know that people say, oh, well, wrestling's fake and whatnot, but like there is a more realism, like, and you're losing that realism when you're like, hey, there's, fictional entities here, zombies. People know zombies aren't real. They fall into the illusion when it's a show, not when it's like this meant to be like somewhat sporting event, and there's suddenly zombies for no reason. Like, again, maybe if they're part of somebody's entrance or whatever, something like that, then maybe you can say, oh yeah, cool, great, or whatever. Or maybe like, I don't know how you could invoke Breaking Bad or whatever, but like, or whatever, like some of that other stuff. It's like, well, what could you do with that? Like, I don't know. Maybe you could have it in, like, I think next week, next fortnight or whatever it is after that, that they have their Albuquerque show. And so I think that's where Breaking Bad was mostly set and mostly filmed and whatnot. So they and they had I think a van very much like the van that was in Breaking Bad, like in the desert and whatnot, and all of that sort of stuff in the picture. So it was like, well, that's a kind of a tease or some sort of hint to being like, oh yeah, we might have some stuff to do with Breaking Bad in this one more so. I don't know whether very much ever, in their shows ever really happened in Texas, so, I don't know what you can actually do with that. But yeah, the setting is often important. So that's cool if they don't have, some stuff, everything from, that show, and they save it for the next show. That's fine. But again, it's like, okay, what are we going to do and why and how, as well. So it's not just saying, oh, is AJ coming or isn't he or whatever. It's not just saying, whatever. It's saying, well, what is the setting? Why are we doing this thing and whatever? Why are we involving this, or how are we involving that? And it can't be too cartoonish or too kiddie or too whatever. It has to be something real or something so that it's just like, oh, well, that was cool because that was just part of their entrance or whatever it was. The zombies were just there for, you know, a visual effect essentially or whatever else it was. Like, if I remember, I can't remember which WrestleMania this was, but like the Undertaker was coming down and all the like seemingly zombies or undead or whatever were clawing at him and whatever. You could do something like that with a bunch of zombies clawing at somebody, you know, sort of thing. I don't know who you could do it with, but again, like, you could do that kind of thing, you know. They can be part of the set dressing in a sense in some things, but again, like, it's always thinking, like, if this thing with AJ, potentially, again, like, we don't know that it's going to happen or not, it will probably be a one-off. So, like, what else can you get him to do as a one-off if he's just, like, if he's on the AMC? He's not going to be on Genesis, like, or at least probably not. So, like, maybe he could do commentary, I don't know. Or maybe he could be somebody's manager, I don't know. Or maybe he could be, like, the special guest referee. That could work, but there's only a handful of things that he could do as being, I'm on this show, I'm here for this one-off, and I'm not coming, well, I'm potentially not coming back. Or if I am coming back, it's not going to be for 6 months, a year, or, well, maybe 8 months, whatever it is, or maybe even the whole year. So, like, you've got to expect that this is really not leading to something, or it's only really leading to something at the very end of the year, if at all. So, yeah, you've got to keep that in mind of saying, oh, well, this is not really going anywhere, or it's not going anywhere quickly if it's getting somewhere. Like, unless they absolutely just change their minds or whatever else it is, or TNA offers them something. And I've seen so many people saying, oh, well, TNA's always been like, hey, WWE, buy us. Buy us, buy us, buy us. Like, no, it's not the thing. Like, they've never been, like, saying, hey, buy us. Like, they've never been, like, there to say, hey, well, we're for sale. Like, if they had been like, well, we're for sale, they would have bought already. They bought AAA, like, and that was because AAA was like, hey, we're for sale. Buy us, please. You know, you can have all of our talent. You can have all this stuff, and you can do what you want with us, basically. Because we're for sale, you know. So, yeah, but, like, yeah, I don't see that TNA is in the same position. TNA is, they're saying, hey, we'll partner with you, we'll do stuff with you if you're good to us. You know, and that's the working relationship. That's a working relationship. One scratches the back of the other. You know what I mean? We've done all this scratching. We've got a little bit of a scratch here and a little bit of a scratch there and a little bit of a scritch here or whatever. That's about it. And yeah, again, you can say, oh, well, TNA needs to scratch way more for WWE to give them something, in a way. But again, that's a bit shit. Like, was it Noah? Didn't really need to do anything to get AJ over there. So, and they didn't need to do anything really to get Shinsuke over there. You know? So, but here's TNA being like, scratch, you know, all the way. But, like, oh no, we're not going to get anything. No, we're still not going to really get anything. We're barely going to get anything. And then, okay, cool, great. We're going to keep scratching and scratching and scratching. But what are we getting from it? Not very much. So, but yeah. So, that, I don't know what the chances are. Like I said, it's like 50-50. And to me, like, if he does turn up, he's not wrestling. At least not now. Like, I think WWE is very conservative with... Like, I think the main reason why Shinsuke and AJ could wrestle in Noah and that, and in Japan and do stuff there, was because it's like, man, 2 people and a dog are watching that anyway. Like, and they're not going to get American deal, and they're only really in Japan, and they don't really, like, they have nothing to do with us, and they aren't really competitive enough to us, and basically they're just like anything else that is in Japan is just a funnel system for AEW. So we need a funnel system to us or whatever, so we'll partner with them. And it does seem very like WWE is doing this funnel system, so I think they're trying to get one in Europe, they're trying to get one, and I guess the UK is in Europe, but they're trying to get something there in the UK as well, mainly. They already did try that a few years back, but I think now they're like, oh, well, it's too much for us to actually really have our own promotion there or have our own thing there that much, but we can have our scouts there, or we can have some of this other stuff there. So if we, partner with a promotion over there, and in Europe and whatnot, then we can be like, okay, now we can start, having a really good funnel system from Europe to here. Same with, like, that's why they've partnered with AAA in Mexico. I think they might be able to cover Canada as well with their own promotion, so I don't know whether they need to partner with somebody up there, but yeah, that's why they've partnered with, like, people in Japan. They're like, oh, yeah, this is just to partner with you or whatever, whatnot, and say, hey, this is a pipeline to WWE or whatever. But I think they're mostly interested in the European market, especially the UK market, and like Mexican market, and maybe Canadian market and Japanese market. And that's about it. Like, maybe they'll get interested in other areas later down the road or whatever it is. So we'll have to wait and see. But again, like, that doesn't really affect us. But again, like, I don't really think that they really care all that much about TNA. They're partnering with them to be like, oh, we have a closer, like, relationship with the indies or with the actually, like, up and coming talent that they have and whatnot, so that we can pipeline them through to WWE. And we'll send them some scraps every now and again just to keep them like a fish on the hook, so to speak. And that's why I think that they should be more aggressive in saying, hey, look, thank you so much for the opportunities to work with you guys, but this relationship isn't working out. You're not living up to your end of the bargain. It's not really helping us. We're barely getting anything out of this. You're getting everything out of this. We appreciate you and we respect you. We're not trying to be mean or rude or disrespectful or anything like that, but you keep dangling this carrot in front of our faces and yoinking it away. So we're not interested. If you're not interested in, giving us a few little crumbs every now and again, or a nibble of that carrot every now and again, we're just going to, say, right, we can't be bothered anymore with doing things with you if you're not going to give us a nibble of that carrot, because we could be very happy on our own to do our own thing, and we're accommodating you very, very much, not just by, sending you our best talent that we've got, but by, sending over basically your dud worst talent that you've got, and we're treating them like, I don't know, like polished poop or whatever. We're treating them really well over here, and yet, meanwhile, you're treating your own talent that you're sending to us like the jobbers that they are over there, and things like that. So it's not helping us with our case over here to make them look legitimate, while you're over there saying, oh yeah, they're not much shit, are they? They get beat in a few minutes. Lexis Kin the other week lost like in a few seconds on speed or whatever it was. And I understand speed is meant to be a really fast thing, but it's like, dude, when you're in another program, in another promotion, it's like, oh man, you're burying this guy who we've got to try and elevate. So you're hampering us by hampering him, and you're not only just hampering us and hampering him by hampering him for us to try to build, but you're hampering him in you guys trying to build him. So, like, why would we try to build him when you're just there going like, oh, we don't care. He can eat losses. We need to build somebody else. And I understand you need to build other people, but it's like, yeah, you couldn't give him like a good, couple of minutes or something. No, just a few seconds. Bam, it's over with. Like what? I don't know. It's crazy. But yeah, that's where I'm at, guys, with the whole AJ situation for now. I'll keep my eyes and ears on it, and I've been trying to do as much stuff with building towards the AMC debut, and will continue to do so, but next year there will be like a whole lot less. I've said this, I believe, in another episode, or at least that episode will be coming out soon, that we will be stepping back from doing more of these podcast episodes, and like after the AMC debut, and whatnot, mostly, but yeah, like, and everything else will be AMC related or Genesis related, into this year at least, yeah, after that we won't have really anything, just because of like how much effort that it all takes sometimes, and there's just so many other things I need to focus on. So that's where we're at with that. So I hope you have enjoyed this one, and despite there perhaps being a few less, I hope you'll join me for another one.